Welcome back, everyone, to the next installment of the Talos Principle. It's time to pick up some extra content. We've missed terminals, and there's a surprising amount of extra, just goofy stuff to see in this game. First, I'll play it seriously. Some missing logs, perhaps? We've certainly had our fun with the Milton Library Assistant, but that doesn't mean we can't pick up some extra logs, am I right? Always a good thing to have. And so we begin. First of all, let's see what we're even missing. Not that it tells us, but there's a way to find out. The first thing I would like to take a look at is in Section 2. Here's this computer, of course. However, there is another one around here somewhere that I simply did not stumble across. Unfortunately for me, it can be tricky to find out where it is. I think the best chance I'm going to have is hearing the little beeping as you get nearby, indicating a new computer that I have not previously taken a look at. The problem is, where is this computer? It could be in a freaking puzzle for all I know. Still, I get to wander around and really scope the place out. Apparently I was remiss in my duties for that the first time through. Huh. One of those tombs. Oh, hey, there it is. Good for me. Not bad, huh? Nothing? That might be just one of those QR codes. What have I missed this whole time? Error. Cannot load archive. That day I oft remember, when from sleep I first awaked, and found myself reposed under a shade on flowers, much wondering where and what I was, whence thither brought, and how. It's a lot of corruption in that file. The human machine. One day you discover that you are not a human being, but a machine. Your life so far was real, no one controlled you or programmed you to behave in some specific way. Your physical and mental capacities are identical to those of an organic human being, but you were created in a lab. No one except you knows about this. Your family, your friends, they all think you are a regular human being like themselves. You could continue to live your life the way you had before and nothing would change. How do you react? Pay specific attention to these questions. Does your concept of yourself change? Are you the same person you thought you were? Does your understanding of the world itself change? Do you reveal the information to others or do you keep it to yourself? Why? 1,500 to 2,000 words. The 26th is the final deadline. No extensions will be granted. Submit via email or blah blah blah. Sounds like a deep school assignment, but it's particularly relevant to us. Arrgh! Solutions! All these calm people are driving me mad. Have they all suddenly turned into Buddha or something? I didn't know the world had such reserves of serenity, though these latter-day Gautamas are at least being somewhat realistic. You know what's even worse? Those paranoid nutters who are building bunkers and collecting guns. What are they gonna do? Shoot? Blah, blah, blah. Though I have to admit, the overall response has been much better than I ever anticipated, to the point where I might be moved by the beauty of humanity if I wasn't such a grumpy old fart. This minority of total idiots is really messing up my final days. Anyway, the reason I'm writing is because I refuse to believe in scenarios with absolutely no solutions. If we all put our heads together, we can figure something out. It'll be crazy, but crazy is better than dead. Crazy is what we do best on this planet. You're damn right, I'm a walking solution. Bingo. A1, A2, A2, extra. 3, 4, 5, 6. 2 sets of extras for that one. I've taken care of the land, ABC elevators, tower floors. Well, this is good. At this point, all I have to do is take a look at the logs in B and C. I'm not missing so many things after all, huh? This isn't bad. You know, I'm curious. What happens if I do this? Ah, just where I beamed in. I can't just warp myself to the hub. Oh well, World B time. And then I'll go back through the main hub and Worlds A, B, and C to look for Easter eggs, because, again, there is a surprising amount. A really, really surprising amount. We've actually taken care of all of the computers. Good. On the overworld, so it's really just B and C. I guess now you could say that, Easter eggs aside, I've truly mastered World A, because I've even taken a look at all the data logs. I am curious, though. I have to mouse wheel scroll. Yeah, I'm missing time capsule number 14. Well, that's a nuisance. Alright, here we are in World B. Let's see what we have as far as World B's stuff is even concerned. We're actually only missing one thing. I mean, I was pretty thorough in my search. We're only missing one log, and it's from B5. Of course, once again, the question arises, where could it possibly be? This world is kind of huge. Pretty, but huge. Seriously? I don't know if I've ever gone underwater in this game. Well, now we have the exploration problem. Where in the world... It's some deep marsh. Where in the world is my extra terminal? These places are pretty massive. And I get the sneaking suspicion that searching the perimeter is not the solution I desire. But I'm still checking, because you never know. Actually, here's a little entranceway. Could it be in here? No, unfortunately. Hello, found it. That wasn't so bad. Gotcha. Ooh, 4 things. Hippocratic Corpus. On the sacred disease, 400 BCE. Men ought to know that from nothing else but the brain come joys, delights, laughter, and sports, and sorrows, griefs, despondency, and lamentations, and by this, in an especial manner, we acquire wisdom and knowledge, and see and hear, and know what are foul and what are fair, what are bad and what are good, what are sweet and what unsavory. Some we discriminate by habit, and some we perceive by their utility. By this we distinguish objects of relish and disrelish, according to the seasons, and the same things do not always please us. And by the same organ we become mad and delirious, and fears and terrors assail us, some by night, and some by day, and dreams and untimely wanderings, and cares that are not suitable, and ignorance of present circumstances, desuetude, and unskillfulness. Man, and Chesterton brain? The human brain is a machine for coming to conclusions. If it cannot come to conclusions, it is rusty. When we hear of a man too clever to believe, we are hearing of something having almost the character of a contradiction in terms. It is like hearing of a nail that was too good to hold down a carpet, or a bolt that was too strong to keep a door shut. Man can hardly be defined, after the fashion of Carlyle, as an animal who makes tools. Ants and beavers and many other animals make tools. In the sense that they make an apparatus, man can be defined as an animal that makes dogmas. As he piles doctrine on doctrine and conclusion on conclusion in the formation of some tremendous scheme of philosophy and religion, he is, in the only legitimate sense of which the expression is capable, becoming more and more human. When he drops one doctrine after another in a refined skepticism, when he declines to tie himself to a system, when he says that he has outgrown definitions, when he says that he disbelieves in finality, when, in his own imagination, he sits as God, holding no form of creed, but contemplating all, then he is by that very process sinking slowly backwards into the vagueness of the vagrant animals and the unconsciousness of the grass. Trees have no dogmas. Turnips are singularly broad-minded. Wow, that's pretty deep, actually. Bronstein brain. Lev Davidovich? The human brain is a product of the development of matter, and at the same time is an instrument for the cognition of this matter. Gradually it adjusts itself to its function, tries to overcome its limitations, creates ever new scientific methods, imagines ever more complex and exact instruments, checks its work again and yet again, step by step penetrates into previously unknown depths, changes our conception of matter without, though, ever breaking away from this basis of all that exists. And finally, neuroscience. Physiological history. Volunteer suffered a blood clot during infancy which resulted in a left hemisphere stroke. Expected result? In normal adults, the left hemisphere is used for language and other cognitive functions. Extensive damage to this part of the brain usually results in severe cognitive deficiencies. Observed result. Volunteer is now 17 years old and displays only very subtle cognitive deficiency. MRIs indicate little to no activity in the left hemisphere, suggesting its usual functions have been taken on by neuron sets in the right. Volunteer's age at the time of the stroke may have helped the brain to adapt. Sure enough, it will compensate. You see this every day. I mean, maybe not you personally, but when people go blind, they learn to deal. It's not like they're just bumbling around for the rest of their lives. The brain does compensate. I mean, you want to try it yourself. Put on a blindfold for like 3 hours. You'll deal a little better than you'd expect. That was it. That was World B. All that's left to do now is pick up the terminals in World C, as well as the single audio log we are missing. I have now, again, other than Easter eggs, completely mastered Worlds A and B in the overworld and the tower. World C, please. Down we go. Ah, the music's kicking in already. Now, what in the world are we missing? Again, we're only missing one thing. However, there are 2 worlds that I need to enter. One for the audio log, one for the file. I was pretty thorough with my computer terminal search, you gotta admit. I didn't perfect it, but I did a pretty good job. Yeah, no wonder I missed this. This place should be cold, but I don't feel cold. It's as if I was observing everything from a distance. It's pointless. Huh. Alright, last log.
Intelligence is more than just problem solving. Intelligence is questioning the assumptions you're presented with. Intelligence is the ability to question existing thought constructs. If we don't make that part of the simulation, all we'll create is a really effective slave.
True. That is true. And that's why the simulation is so clever. I'm supposed to be, like, wink, supposed to be a slave, but the idea is that I eventually rebel and exercise free will, which shows that they've created effectively a human being. Now the last terminal that I'm missing is actually in this very first world, right here. So, where is it, is my question. Once again, I have to wander the wilderness and hope that I come across it. Oh, found it! It was that easy. Against survival. Open against... Dear Miss Drennan, I heard about your project. It's the talk of the scientific community, and I'd like to make an argument for why you should abandon it. It's not that I think your idea won't work. It very well may. But we have to look beyond purely practical questions to the issue of morality. especially at this turning point of our spiritual ecology. By what right can we put living beings through all that suffering just so they could serve our purposes? Why create these pale imitations of our fatally flawed species and force them to reenact our sordid history? Why? What you are building, Mr. Drennan, is a prison. Even if there is a way out. I believe you mean well, but your idea of what is valuable is rooted in the dogma of Western civilization. We're lucky enough to be able to end our global crime spree relatively painlessly if you consider the harm we have caused the Earth. Why not be satisfied with that and let this planet go on in peace? I hope you heed my words and let your Talos bleed out before it's too late. Respectfully, Chellis Jensen. That is a very good point. If the whole idea is they're making something as human as possible, just looks like a robot, we are being tormented. This is a freaking hamster wheel, endless prison, unless we happen to find the way out, which we may well never. You know, the tower solution is the ideal solution. Samuel Butler. Complex now, but how much simpler and more intelligibly organized may it not become in another 100,000 years, or in 20,000? For men at present believes that his interest lies in that direction. He spends an incalculable amount of labor and time and thought in making machines breed always better and better. He has already succeeded in effecting much that at one time appeared impossible, and there seem to be no limits to the results of accumulated improvements if they are allowed to descend with modification from generation to generation. It must always be remembered that man's body is what it is through having been molded into its present shape, by the chances and changes of many millions of years, but that his organization never advanced with anything like the rapidity with which that of the machines is advancing. Very true. And finally, Einstein. Recent discussions have brought me back to an excellent 1949 article by Albert Einstein. I recently discussed with an intelligent and well-disposed man the threat of another war, which in my opinion would seriously endanger the existence of mankind. Thereupon my visitor very calmly and coolly said to me, "Why are you so deeply opposed to the disappearance of the human race?" I'm sure that as little as a century ago no one would have so lightly made a statement of this kind. It is the statement of a man who has striven in vain to attain an equilibrium within himself, and has more or less lost hope of succeeding. It is the expression of a painful solitude and isolation from which so many people are suffering in these days. Bizarre, casual disregard for humanity, a kind of fashionable self-hatred, is prevalent, or at least present, in many strands of supposedly progressive. Nothing seems more important to me than that we reassert the value of humanity. Despite our flaws, we must not stop celebrating the beauty of human life and human achievement. Yeah, you have a real conflict of interest here. Once again, very fascinating. And with that, we have accessed every voicemail, every data file in the game. Congratulations to us. There's only one thing left to do, and that's take a look at little extras. Ooh, this ought to be good. Welcome everyone to Sigils of Elohim. As it says, it is the Talos Principle minigame. This was a free game released to help promote the Talos Principle, and what you do is quite simple. At least in theory. You solve block puzzles. And the purpose of which is to get little in-game rewards for the Talos Principle itself. You do not actually need any of these to beat the game, but they're kinda nice to have, if only for bragging rights. I've completed the first puzzle. There are several more to go. Now, as you may have seen when I entered this game, I've already gotten 2 rows completed. So this serves both as promotional material and also a practice run. Kind of clever on their part, actually. And some of this stuff can absolutely take forever. There we go. And the puzzles just keep going. As you can see, I think I'm Yeah, I think I'm on 3 of 8. And these puzzles, the difficulty really ramps up. This is mostly just a little distraction, though. Also really relaxing music, I love it. Ugh. Every time I see a new puzzle, it's like there's no break. Didn't I just complete a puzzle? Let me have this, please. There we go. I like how it shows you the timer when you're about to solve the puzzle. There we go. That ought to do nicely. Ugh, and all of a sudden it starts throwing 9-piece puzzles at me. And this is the third to last of the third row of 4 of set A of C. It's freaking crazy. That ought to do. Haha. Oh god, what is this? Actually, this isn't so bad. Oh, leave me alone. Well, this is the last one for the row, and you'll see what it gets you. Freaking absurd, I tell ya. Almost there, though. There we go. There, the last bit of finagling. Hooray! I got a Messenger's Relic for the Talos Principle game. So you can see I get these little codes here, and I can use them in the main game to get little perks. Ultimately, by this point, when this game had come out, you might be wondering what the Talos Principle is. So this is an interesting way of getting hype. It's a puzzle game. I just thought this might be interesting as little promotional material. Well, we certainly made a lot of progress today, didn't we? We covered the last of the data in the game, which actually feels really nice. Also, as I said during the installment itself, I was apparently pretty thorough even in my initial playthrough. I only missed 1 terminal in each world. Not bad. And I probably would have found those too if I weren't in such a rush. They were kind of on the outside perimeters each time. Not too terribly hidden, so okay. A reasonable player on a first playthrough could probably find all of them, or at least come close. And again, the only audio log I missed was that one that was hidden behind that pretty obscure corner. The reason I didn't find that one is that I wasn't really looking for it. I didn't check every single nook and cranny, because the audio logs are usually in pretty obvious locations. Then out of nowhere, 14, tucked away. But oh well, we've taken care of the extra data, now it's just silly extras. Get ready. Until next time, everyone.